Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Just waiting 1 minute more. Some other people have said they will join. Kalpana, Rupa, Ritu, Deepika. She's not so well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. मैं क्रैश हो गया जूम नहीं.
Anmol,
हाँ.
can I read this first mantra that is on this page? Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra
Yes, yes.
karuna evacha.
Please read.
Should I start right now or should I? I just want to read for my own self, basically.
I was just checking if the recording is going on or not. 1 second. Yes, please start.
Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha. Nirmamo nirankaraha samudah.
निरअहंकारः.
Nirahankarah
या फिर
samudah.
ब्रेक नहीं करें. निरअहंकारः, वन वर्ड.
Okay.
निर्ममो निरअहंकारः.
निर्ममो निरंकारः समुदः
नहीं 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 जीती, निरंकार नहीं, निरअहंकारः.
निर्हंकारः.
हाँ नहीं, एक सेकंड, आप या तो उसको ब्रेक. निरअहंकारः, बिकॉज द र इज हाफ, इट्स निर, ठीक है, एंड देन
या
इट्स अहंकारः, तो ज्वाइन
अहंकार
करके हो जाएगा निरहंकारः. निरहंकारः, लाइक दैट.
निर्हंकारः.
यस.
समुदः.
ना ना ना, सम दुख.
ओ ओके. सम दुख सुख
सुखः
क्षमी.
क्षमी.
ओके.
So the visarga has to be pronounced with a, like ah, इस तरह का sound.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Awesome.
So what I've thought is that we have covered these first four, but I'll just read them and the English translation without any explanation. It'll just take barely a minute, but it will give the continuity. Is there anybody here who would like to read? वैसे Sarita is not there now. हाँ, ठीक है. I'll start. अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहंकारः समदुःख सुखः क्षमी. He who has no egoism, no I-ness and my-ness, who has friendship and pity for all beings and hate for no living thing, who has a tranquil equality to pleasure and pain and is forgiving, he is dear to me. संतुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढ़निश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर् यो मद्भक्तः समे प्रियः. He who has a desireless content, the steadfast control of self, and the firm, unshakable will and resolution of the yogin, and a love and devotion which gives up the whole mind and reason to me. He is dear to me. यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोको लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः हर्षामर्ष भयोद्वेगैः मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः. He by whom the world is not afflicted or troubled, who also is not afflicted or troubled by the world, who is freed from the troubled, agitated lower nature, and from its waves of joy and fear and anxiety and resentment. He is dear to me. अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्ष उदासीनो गतव्यथः सर्वारंभ परित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः समे प्रियः. He who desires nothing is pure, skillful in all actions, indifferent to whatever comes, not pained or afflicted by any result or happening, who has given up all initiative of action. He, my devotee, is dear to me. We have done till here. Today, then this new verse is there. I'm just checking if the 17th and 18th are to be read together or they are independent. Yeah, so the 18th and 19th are to be read together. 17th is independent. Is there anybody else here who would like to just read the Sanskrit for the joy of it? Anybody? Otherwise, I will read. But I mean, the Ucharan should be Shuddha. Anybody? Nahi? Acha, okay. यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न कांक्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान्यः स मे प्रियः. He who neither desires the pleasant and rejoices at its touch, nor abhors the unpleasant and sorrows at its touch, who has abolished the distinction between fortunate and unfortunate happenings, because his devotion receives all things equally as good from the hands of his eternal lover and master. He is dear to me. Yo na hrishyati, harsha, the relatively common word, would be the same root. Hrish root hoga isme. So yo na hrishyati. He who neither desires the pleasant and rejoices at its touch. Yeah, so rejoices. The English word here would be rejoices. Yo na hrishyati. Okay. Na dveshti. Na dveshti would be abhors. द्वेष करना किसी चीज से. यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति. Shochati means to grieve. Sorrows at its touch. That is shochati. Na kankshati. Kankshati is desires. So akankshaएं बोलते हैं ना. So यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न कांक्षति. He who neither desires the pleasant and rejoices at its touch, nor abhors the unpleasant and sorrows at its touch. We'll come back word by word to each of these. Who has abolished the distinction between fortunate and unfortunate happenings. ये word ऐसे है, शुभ अशुभ परित्यागी. So in making the compound, it has become shubha shubha. Right? So shubha shubha parityagi, who has abolished the distinction between shubha, fortunate, and ashubha, unfortunate happenings. Now this is Sri Aurobindo's extra. I think this is Sri Aurobindo's, looks like his language, not the editor or from somebody else, because his devotion receives all things equally as good from the hands of his eternal lover and master. Bhaktiman. Bhaktiman जैसे so in Sanskrit like या तो मान प्रिफिक्स लगाते हैं या वान प्रिफिक्स लगाते हैं. मतुप और वतुप ऐसे करके होते हैं, then they take these forms. Like in Bhagavan, so it's the stem word is Bhagavat. That becomes Bhagavan, right? इसमें it says Bhaktiman, so Bhaktimat. Buddhimati बोलते हैं ना, Buddhiman, so like that. These are the two suffixes. Man or Van attached to the main word, that's how it is formed. So Bhaktiman basically means he who has bhakti, just Shaktiman, जो सीरियल आया था ना, Near to the Far. Yeah. Bhaktiman यह समे प्रिय. भक्तिमान की क्या परिभाषा दी गई है यहाँ पे? बहुत ही अमेजिंग परिभाषा दी है श्री अरबिंदो ने. Because his devotion receives all things. That devotion, what is devotion? He's saying devotion is that which receives all things equally as good from the hands of his eternal lover and master. He is dear to me. So prima facie it can appear okay, we are being asked to go into a very sort of stone-like state. ऐसा नहीं है. That is there at the level of tamas, basically, at the inconscient level, जहाँ sensitivity नहीं होती है. This is the opposite of that. So basically, it refers to that inner silence. When we have attained that inner silence, the word udasina, जो पहले आया था, lifted above, right? So in our consciousness, when we are lifted above these phenomena, right? And again, once more, that sentence or this idea basically, an eternal silence is the complement or base of an eternal activity, right? That eternal silence can also be called Purusha. That eternal activity can be called Prakriti. And as I quoted that half a verse on the group earlier, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhyanadi Ubhavapi. Know both the Purusha and the Prakriti to be Anadi. Anadi means without beginning. Yeah. So essentially, I mean, in the process of yogic development, any yogi, who is truly a yogi or a sadhak, they will feel this deepening of inner silence and basically this rising above these normal reactions जो nature के अंदर होते हैं. I'm just checking who else has joined. Acha, Yogesh has joined. Okay, right. So once more, he who neither desires the pleasant and rejoices at its touch, nor abhors the unpleasant and sorrows at its touch. Why? Because he has attained that inner stability, that sort of inner silence, which is not, मतलब कोई बहुत effervescent movement हुआ या बहुत कुछ depressing movement हुआ, it is not affected. In other words, we could also say that thing in us which is unchangeable, you are based in that, right? And that comes through Jnana Yoga. Again, we have to remind ourselves that we are reading this for the sake of clarity on how to bring the psychic being forward, or for tips, ideas, etc. on how to bring the psychic being forward. But this chapter, obviously, it's the 12th chapter. It should be read after a lot of water has flown under the bridge as far as the Gita is concerned, right? So otherwise, this he who neither desires the pleasant and rejoices at its touch, nor abhors the unpleasant and sorrows at its touch, तो मतलब पत्थर बन जाना है क्या? That's not what the Gita means. That is the tamas, that is the material level, inconscient level. This is asking us to go to the spiritual level. And वही जो मैंने word touch किया उसमें कि that thing which is unchanging, which is not affected by anything. It's not that it does not enjoy, but the quality, the guna of that ananda is not harsha or dvesha or shochati or kangshati. It's qualitatively something different. Its base is peace and silence. So, that is why, like, I mean, जैसे, I mean, this is basically Gita comes from the Vaishnava system, Vedantic form of Vaishnavism, Sri Aurobindo calls it. So, the form that Vaishnavism has taken since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the dominant form, Kirtan Vagera, singing, dancing, fine, there's nothing wrong in that. But when, you sort of lose yourself in that, and I mean, thinking that I am very ecstatic and sort of losing control of your body movement and all, that is not real yoga. In real yoga, उसमें that inner depth, that inner silence and stillness is there, and the yogi enjoys it, that ananda which is pouring from above in the divine state, but he is not overjoyed by it or over depressed when a negative thing happens. That inner stability is there. So as far as the first half of this shloka is concerned, I mean, these are the thoughts that come to my mind. Yeah. Second part. Very beautiful, very beautiful. Very slowly we'll read it. Who has abolished the distinction between fortunate and unfortunate happenings. Very easy to say, but very difficult to do. Shubha Shubha Parityag. ये कब आएगा? When we have that total faith in the divine. Whatever is happening, ultimately his will is there, overruling anything negative, right? So, and जो कुछ भी होगा, but then it should be a true faith. It should not be a tamasic faith. This is what Sri Aurobindo reminds us in the beginning of the Mother. Okay, your surrender must be a true surrender. It should not be a tamasic surrender. And for that, he gives the conditions कि आपको क्या क्या effort करना है, wherein you reach that true surrender. Aspiration, rejection, then he comes to that surrender. Right? Anyway, so Shubha Shubha Parityagi, who has abolished the distinction between fortunate and unfortunate happenings, because his devotion receives all things equally as good from the hands of his eternal lover and master. Bhaktiman yaha same priyaha. He is dear to me. Yeah. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. And it's not like there is a dead rule कि पहले गीता का ये चैप्टर फॉलो करना है फिर ये करना है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है. Essentially there is only one rule, whatever works for you, right? So, and as I said earlier in the previous session and the one before that also, see, the Gita was not written yesterday. It was written 5,000 years ago, right? The prachar and prasar of the Gita, the scholars say that since the time of Shankaracharya, it has been going on in a very big way. Shankaracharya was there in the 7th century. Basically, what I mean to say, the Gita is part of our psyche, even deeper than that. ये हमारे खून के अंदर है. So all these qualities, India is basically a psychic country that way. तो ये सारे qualities हमारे अंदर हैं. It's like, of course, degrees का फर्क है, but it's part of our whole culture and system. बहुत ये नहीं होना है, बहुत वो नहीं होना है. Take all things as coming from the divine, as the grace of the divine. प्रसाद बुद्धि, this word is used, कि जो कुछ भी आ रहा है, take it as the prasad of the divine. But again, उसमें वो, the catch is, or the carefulness is, warning is, you have to be very careful कि आपका वो तमोगुण तो dominate नहीं कर रहा. This is all coming kind of from the sattva guna, where you're full of that light, full of that peace and stability, and in that you're having this feeling. If the same thing we are having when we are dominated by tamoguna, it is nothing but self-deception. This should be clear. Chat में कुछ लिखा है किसी ने? Because all good and bad comes from the lower self. Once established in divine consciousness, then there's equanimity. Correct, very correct. This Atmadeep has written. Thank you. Yeah. Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthitaah. 5.19 का सेकंड हाफ है. इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषाम साम्ये स्थितम मनः. इह मतलब यहां रहते हुए ही, लिविंग इन दिस वर्ल्ड, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इहैव, श्री अरविंदो हाईलाइट करते हैं, दिस इज वन ऑफ दोज इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड्स फ्रॉम द उपनिषद्स और गीता. इहैव तैर्जितः, तैर मीन्स बाय देम, जितः मीन्स जीत लिया, सर्गः मीन्स क्रिएशन. रिमेनिंग हियर इटसेल्फ द क्रिएशन इज वन बाय दोज पीपल. येषाम साम्ये स्थितम मनः, जिनका मन जो है वो साम्य में स्थित हो गया है, इक्वालिटी में स्थित हो गया है. Very powerful words of the Gita, worth memorizing, I'm telling you. Ehaiva Tair 5.19. इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषम ही समम ब्रह्म। दैट ब्रह्म, उसकी क्या डेफिनेशन है? इट इज निर्दोष, इट इज मतलब फ्री फ्रॉम ऑल फॉल्ट्स, एंड इट इज समम, इट इज इक्वल, राइट? और मैंने समम का भी पीछे गया था, द वर्ड सम, उसमें जो अ लगा है आप उसको भी हटाएं, इट बिकम्स सम व्हाट इट मीन? टोटल। तो द टोटैलिटी, एंड व्हाट इज द टोटैलिटी? द डिवाइन, बिकॉज देर इज नथिंग बट हिम। एकमेवा द्वितीयम ब्रह्म नान्यत किंचित अस्ति। देर इज ब्रह्मन अलोन, देर इज नथिंग एल्स, राइट? निर्दोषम ही समम ब्रह्म। श्री अरविंदो ऑल्सो बहुत हाईलाइट करते हैं इस फ्रेज को इन द लाइफ डिवाइन, वेरी ब्यूटिफुली ही सेज इन द चैप्टर कॉल्ड द प्योर एग्जिस्टेंट, आई थिंक द सेकंड पैराग्राफ, कि द जो यूनिवर्सल एनर्जी है, इट गिव्स एज मच अटेंशन टू द क्रिएशन ऑफ एन एंट हिल as it does to the creation of planets, something like that. The sentence is there, it's very beautiful. I'll share that quotation if it's not very long, right? Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthita, therefore tasmat they are established in Brahman. So that equality के ऊपर many verses I had shared on the group last time. Whoever, वो मेरा एक PPT था समता के ऊपर, I had given a talk on it. So please go through them, they are all fantastic. मतलब केवल पढ़ने मात्र से ही, see, this is the magic of Sanskrit, that the vak and artha in it are united perfectly. So when you, as much as utter the vak means the sound, the word, as much as utter the vak, the sound, in a correct way, the artha starts emerging from within your own consciousness. That is the greatness of Sanskrit. That is why it is called Deva Bhasha, the divine language. It is the language. Sanskrit is also not the Deva Bhasha. संस्कृत का मतलब ही होता है कि वो परफेक्टली क्रिएटेड। तो जो देवा भाषा है उसमें क्रिएटेड कैसे हो सकता है? Since I mentioned it, so I'll just say it the full point. Deva Bhasha is that which has come directly from the divine. So Sri Aurobindo says that like all things have come from the divine is the source of everything. Similarly, the source of language is also the divine, right? But over a period of time, that language undergoes some corruption, detrition, etc., and it is recovered by the custodians of language. And the result of the process of that recovery is what is called Sanskrita. And that is what we have today. Sam means total, Krita means created. So that which is perfectly refined or perfectly created, right? फिर उसके बाद वो प्राकृत बनती है। फिर उसके बाद वी हैव लाइक अवर हिंदी। सो क्रम रहेगा देव भाषा, देन संस्कृत, देन प्राकृत। सो द प्राकृत फॉर हिंदी इज कॉल्ड शौरसेनी प्राकृत, फ्रॉम द शूरसेना महाजनपद ऑफ द महाभारत टाइम्स, मध्य प्रदेश के। एंड फ्रॉम देयर कम्स हिंदी। 18th सेंचुरी के अंदर हिंदी ने करंट फॉर्म लिया, लाइक दैट, राइट? सो दिस इज द ग्रेटनेस। तो आई एम जस्ट सेइंग कि दोस वर्सेस ऑन समता 18-19 के करीब हैं, जस्ट वर्थ रीडिंग देम साइलेंटली, even obviously one should know the meaning. We don't want to become just mere chanters or dull people like that, but merely reading them will be very beautiful. We won't read it today, that's part of a separate thing, right? Thank you Atmadeep ji. कुछ और चैट में भी लिखा है दोबारा, what is it? नहीं, same thing, yeah. तो शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान यह समय प्रिय है। Anybody else?
Anmol,
Yes.
so as he says that everything is in that oneness, but as an aspirant, when you try to put your thought and attention to the psychic within, the previous pattern of the vital and the physical and the mental wanting to, because they also have an energy and a huge power. The fact that they have created a groove in your consciousness that they pull you, and there is that feeling that, look, I don't like this, right?
Yes.
And yet you're struggling because the psychic is completely in that space of peace, the psychic entity.
Yes.
So the psychic being, which is aspiring for that, feels tremendous resistance within.
Yes.
When you listen to what it's being said, it's giving you a path of what needs to be followed. But equally strong is the resistance that the vital, mental, and physical put onto you, because you want to be in that space of samta, and they do not want that smooth oneness to be your reality, because they've always had you under its sway. So
Exactly.
there is tremendous.
Just to pause you for a second. So Sri Aurobindo says, okay, what you're saying, mental, vital, and physical, in one word we can call Prakriti, right? And what you're calling the psychic being, we can call Chaitya Purusha, in one word Purusha. So he says, my dear, it's not so easy to come out of the grip of nature. Nature has been dominating you for so many births, so many births, so many births. So to think that, just by a little effort or some years, you will overcome nature and start dominating her, it will not be so easy. She resists like that. So exactly what you're saying. But that is what constitutes the challenge in yoga. But matlab, here it should be said कि if you do not take up the mantle now, so the evolution will still happen, but it will happen slowly. And what does slow evolution means? Basically more suffering, nothing else. Yoga is done fundamentally. One of the reasons is to get rid of suffering. Okay? And when that yoga is basically nothing but putting your foot on the accelerator button as far as evolution is concerned. Evolution is going to happen any which way. Yoga is nothing but accelerated evolution. So naturally, when you do that, there is resistance. So this is the nature of the terrestrial world. Here things happen through struggle, through resistance. This is the nature of it. One cannot escape from it. And vital बहुत ज्यादा resist करता है, physical करने लगेगा, initially mind करता है. मतलब how can you say that this is it's like this opinions वही ना. So rejection. It's not easy, but that's why more and more awareness. And by the way, what makes it easy is calling in the divine power. If you try to do the yoga on your own Shakti, Atma Bala, आप मुंह के बल भी गिर सकते हैं and you can hurt yourself. Okay? That is what hardcore tapasvis do. जैसे बुद्धिज्म है, बुद्धिज्म does not believe in grace. वो modern forms obviously हिंदुइज्म का influence उसके ऊपर है and all. That's why करुणा and all that और वो सब होता है. But जो एकदम प्योर बुद्धिज्म है या प्योर जैनिज्म है फॉर दैट मैटर, उनके अंदर कोई ग्रेस व्रेस का एलिमेंट नहीं होता. So you rely completely on your own. That's not the case with the teaching of the Gita. The Gita says the Gita is being given by Sri Bhagavan, right? And with his grace, with the invocation of his Shakti, जैसे मैंने वो मदर का मंत्र बताया था, ओम आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे. You just say this mantra and mother starts flowing into you. And when that Shakti flows into you, then the yoga becomes smoother. Then the resistances sort of, start melting away. In yoga also, it is the divine who is the sadhaka and the sadhana. This line has to be remembered. अगर कोई केवल अपने बलबूते पे जोर लगा के योग करेगा ना, then it will be very difficult. The trick is basically to get the mother involved, to get the divine Shakti involved. I'm using the word trick. It's not a very great word, but I'm just trying to convey the point.
Correct. You always right. You always say complete faith. There's this line of mother that you had said in the last couple of classes as well.
Repeat the line first.
That it's either complete faith or complete.
The path is difficult.
Right.
Self-surrender makes it the path is long. Self-surrender makes it short. The way is difficult. Perfect trust makes it easy. I'll repeat it again once more. The path is long. Self-surrender makes it short. The way is difficult. Perfect trust makes it easy. It is there on the group.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Dhaval Bhai is here offline with me, so he has a question.
Mention Buddhism and Jainism doesn't believe.
They don't have Ishvara.
But they believe in nihil, no?
Yeah, but that nihil is not an entity which is going to pull you up towards itself.
Oh.
They don't have that concept of a divine entity. Basically, Dhaval Bhai, what he's saying is, I'm saying that Buddhism, Jainism, there is not that gracious entity from above who is also looking forward that you are coming up. In them, there is this kind of nihil. जैसे Buddhism में it is nihil, in this thing, nirvana बोलते हैं उसको उसमें, and in Jainism, वो कुछ मोक्षा वोक्षा कुछ ऐसा वर्ड होता है उसमें. बट देयर इज नो भगवान का कॉन्सेप्ट. वो नास्तिक रिलीजन है, उसमें भगवान का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं. नाउ अगेन जो जैनी होंगे दे विल से बट भगवान महावीर बोलते हैं. वो भैया बिकॉज आप हिंदुस्तान में रह रहे हो एंड हियर यू कैनॉट बट कम अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ सनातन धर्म. आई टेल यू, इवन क्रिश्चियंस वो क्या करते हैं, वो अपने डेटीज को मेरी वेरी को बिठा करके उनकी यथ यात्रा निकालने लगते हैं. सो व्हाट इज दैट? दैट्स अ प्योरली हिंदू थिंग. So, this country mein it is meant for Sanatana Dharma and for the complete truth. So obviously Buddhism has come under the influence of Hinduism. Buddhism has cast some influence on Hinduism. Similarly, Jainism has come under the influence of Hinduism. Right? Some of their goddesses, wo Tara jo hoti hai, Tara is there even in the 10 great cosmic powers, and Tara you will find even in the Jain temples. So वो सब मिक्सर वगैरह है, but essentially जो मतलब भगवान वाली जो चीज है उसका जो एक्सपोस्टुलेशन है, You know, the most clear enunciation, explanation, उसके साथ कैसे relation build करना है, how to kind of invoke his grace, and this chapter is the most crucial for that. How to become dear to the divine so that you can receive his grace and basically, you know, reduce your agony, reduce the वो दुखालयम शाश्वतम बोलते हैं ना गीता में, कि वो आपको वो कैसे वो सेंस खत्म हो। भैया ये वर्ल्ड दुखालयम नहीं है, एट द रूट ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड इज आनंद। What does the Upanishad say? Ko hevanyat kah pranyat yadesha akasha anando nasyat. At the very core and the very heart of this everything is this ananda. And if this ananda were not there, you could not so much as exhale the outgoing breath and take the incoming breath. That's what the Upanishad says. जिसको कभी भी दुख डिप्रेशन टाइप का है, just read the Taittiriya Upanishad. Ananda, Ananda, Ananda. It just bombard you with the word Ananda. Unbelievable. हम कहां से आए हैं? It says we have come from Ananda. How are we surviving? By Ananda. Where are we going? Towards Ananda. Just trying to recover the verse in my mind. आनंदाध्येव खलविमानी भूतानि जायन्ते। मैं कभी इसको ग्रुप में डाल दूंगा, ट्राई टू मेमोराइज इट, इट हेल्प्स। आई एम टेलिंग यू, इट्स नॉट जस्ट कि कोई मेमोरी कार्ड डिस्प्ले कर रहा है कुछ। संस्कृत इज सो पावरफुल, एंड आई हैव आस्क्ड संस्कृत एक्सपर्ट्स कि फायदा होता है कि नहीं होता। दे से इनएविटेबली फायदा होता है। सो आई जस्ट से द वर्स स्लोली। हाँ, आनंदाध्येव खलविमानी भूतानि जायन्ते। फ्रॉम आनंद इंडीड have all these beings come into existence. आनंदात्येव खलु इमानि भूतानि जायन्ते। आनंदेन जातानि जीवन्ति, having come into being, जातानि, how are they living? आनंदेन, आनंदेन जातानि जीवन्ति, where are they going? आनंदम प्रयन्ति, प्रयन्ति मतलब उस तरफ जाना। आनंदम प्रयन्ति अभिसंविशन्ति इति। अभिसंविशन्ति मीन्स दे आर गोइंग टू एंटर, विशन्ति प्रवेश करना, प्रवेश वर्ड उसी से आता है। वंस मोर, आनंदाध्येव खलविमानि भूतानि जायन्ते, आनंदेन जातानि जीवन्ति, आनंदम प्रयन्ति अभिसंविशन्ति इति। उसके बाद वो इति बोलता है। वेरी पावरफुल। सो यू नो, कुछ नहीं है, इट्स जस्ट, I mean, you know, sometimes the vital tends to enjoy its drama of sorrow and this and that. Throw it away. मतलब वी आर ऑल चिल्ड्रन ऑफ, श्री अरबिंदो अपना जो उन्होंने एक संस्कृत राइटिंग लिखा है, हे आनंदस्य पुत्राः, दैट इज हाउ ही एड्रेसेस अस, ओ चिल्ड्रन ऑफ ब्लिस। द वेदा एड्रेसेस अस एज ओ चिल्ड्रन ऑफ इमॉर्टैलिटी, हे अमृतस्य पुत्राः, you know, like that. And especially in India, I mean, because the Vedic roots and the spiritual roots are so strong. So, you know, like that. Okay, थोड़ा सा मैं डिट्रैक्ट हो गया, आई एम सॉरी। आई टेंड टू गेट कैरिड अवे जब ये रेफरेंसेस माइंड में आते हैं। Yeah. May I go to the next verse? Okay, I'm going.
Yes, please do.
Okay, next. The 18th and 19th are to be read together. Yeah. Samah shatrau cha mitre cha tatha manapamanayoh शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु समः संग विवर्जितः। Once more slowly. समः शत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु समः संग विवर्जितः। Equal to friend and enemy, equal to honor and insult, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, grief and happiness, heat and cold, to all that troubles with opposite affections the normal nature, not attached to person or thing, that man is dear to me. And the next one, we'll just cover them together. Tulya ninda stutir maunina. So ye they have taken Tulya ninda stuti means equal in praise and blame. So that he has translated in the previous verse only. Tulya ninda stutir mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketah sthiramatihi bhaktiman me priyo naraha. Silent, content, and well satisfied with anything and everything, not attached to place or home, firm in mind, because it is constantly seated in the highest self and fixed forever on the one divine object of his love and adoration, that man is dear to me. समः शत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु समः संग विवर्जितः. Equal to friend and enemy. Samah shatrau cha mitre cha. Because he sees the same Brahman everywhere. So, of course, that same Brahman can take the form of an enemy, right? And then you're supposed to oppose it, but you oppose it with equality. That's what Arjuna is being asked to. Archana on bliss from Savitri. 1 second, because it's connected to what I was saying earlier. Sorry, I didn't see it earlier. A hidden bliss is at the root of things. Exactly. Beautiful. Thank you, Archana ji. A hidden bliss is at the root of things. A mute delight regards time's countless works. To house God's joy in things, space gave wide room. To house God's joy in self, our souls were born. Amazing, amazing. इसी में वो ब्रीथ ब्रीथ का भी आता है कि none could breathe but for his delight. None would leave because of his delight. None could bear but for his strength within, and none would leave because of his delight. If मतलब somebody can find none would leave because of his delight, वो एक line है, but this is actually conveying the idea even better. Once more, I'll just read. This is very beautiful. A hidden bliss is at the root of things. A mute delight regards time's countless works. To house God's joy in things, space gave wide room. To house God's joy in self, our souls were born. Yeah. And none could bear but for his strength within, yet none would leave because of his delight. I mean, despite all the troubles, afflictions, dukhalayam, kuch bhi bolo, does anybody ever want to leave? Nobody. Kyun? Because existence itself is delight. Even a small ant crawling there, if you try to, stamp it or something, it'll karke bhagega. Why is it so attached to its life? What is there in life which makes you fundamentally so attached to it? It is that delight which is there in life. वो आनंद भंग हो रहा है. There is a beautiful in the life divine way Sri Aurobindo says that no, despite the appearances, the sum total of human experience may the extent of pleasure far exceeds the extent of pain. Very important quotation मैं भेजूंगा उसको ग्रुप के ऊपर. I'll share it.
Anmol,
Yes.
this example of the ant and
Yeah.
whatever else, one is that there is that inherent delight. The
Yes.
other is that each of us are so attached to our ego identity. It is the killing of the identity. That means, like today, if I say, what if I die? What is it that troubles me the most? That my identity will get disseminated.
Yes.
It will dissipate. So there is possibly that inherent delight, but there is also tremendous attachment to this identity which has got created. So everything which is your, as you said, the nature,
That's
which is
why-
the vital mind and physical, is absolutely, it just rebels with the thought that this identity will get decimated.
Exactly.
So
That's what I said, na, कि जब वो, because now the whole nature is being organized around the ego, right? And जब वो ego के धागे अलग अलग होते हैं, Sri Aurobindo says egoism is shot through in human nature, obviously. तो जब वो धागे खुलते हैं, it can be very painful. That process जिसमें वो ego hurt होती है, but वो धीरे धीरे वो hurt होना बंद होगी, because that light starts coming from within and gradually it starts replacing it. And the ego starts getting convinced कि rather than this way of living, the soul way of living is far more satisfying, far more genuinely happiness giving. One starts getting that impression, and otherwise it's impossible to practice any kind of yoga. अगर ये आभास नहीं हो भीतर से, it's impossible.
And these lines are so beautiful, Anmol, if you could put it in the references today, the
Which one?
lines of Savitri that you read just now.
I'll do that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So the chat will be lost. Archana ji, can you please put them on the group later on? Archana ji, are you there?
Yeah, I'll put it.
Please,
Put it now.
please put both of them. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we go back to the Gita text. Yeah. Samah shatrau cha mitre cha. Equal to friend and enemy. Equal not in the sense, it should not be misunderstood. Equal doesn't mean that वो उनके साथ उसका व्यवहार same रहेगा, right? Equality is that inner equality. He knows that this friend is also Brahman and this enemy is also Brahman. But with the enemy Brahman, he will deal in the enemy way, and with the friend Brahman in the friend way. Otherwise, it will lead to all sorts of confusion. And that is why इस तरह का कंफ्यूजन हो जाता है, इसीलिए द गीता के एंड में कि इट शुड नॉट बी गिवन टू दोज विदाउट फेथ एंड दिस तपस्या वपस्या, बिकॉज उसके बिना वो परिपक्वता नहीं आती। इदम ते न तपस्काय ना भक्ताय कदाचन, जिसमें भक्ति नहीं है, जिसमें तपस्या नहीं है, नचा अश्रुष्वे वाच्यम, जो फॉल्ट फाइंडिंग है उसके लिए नहीं है सब। इट इज मेंट टू बी सीक्रेट. So one certain level of maturity is needed. Otherwise, Adhyatma Vidya can be most destructive. And we see it in the history of the world. The maximum destruction happens in the name of religion only. आज भी वही हो रहा है. It's basically a war between the, I mean, Judaism and Christianity on one side and Islam on the other side. What is there not to speak about it openly, man? It is so crystal clear. It is the three Abrahamic religions fighting with each other. Nothing else. आप कुछ भी बोल लो. Ultimately, at the root, it comes to this. Human being is not governed by finance, economy, social politics, nothing. At their core, every one of them is governed by religion in some form or the other. The atheist is as devoted to his atheism as the theist is to his God. Right? So no more of negative mention nahi karna hai. Equal samah shatrau cha mitre cha, equal to friend and enemy. Tatha manapamanayo. This can be very difficult. Equal to honor and insult. जब वो ऑनर किया तो एकदम फूल गए, मैं तो कितना महान हूं, और जब इंसल्ट किया एकदम हाउ डेयर यू, यू फ्लाई इन रेज. वेरी डिफिकल्ट. दैट समता एंड दैट ग्रेजुअल, वो धीरे धीरे आएगा. सी अगेन, इफ वन डजंट प्रैक्टिस, कुछ नहीं, थोड़ा बहुत होगा, बस वो टेक्स्ट पढ़ने से करने से, बस वो थोड़ा स्क्रैचिंग द सरफेस होगा. वन हैज टू रियली कमर कस के वन हैज टू प्रैक्टिस यू, सच में. आरुक्षोर मुनेर योगम कर्म कारणम उच्यते. योगा इज लाइक क्लाइंबिंग द हिल. आरुक्ष, उसमें आरोहण वाला वो रूट है उसमें, राइट? तो and obviously as one does it, so one can gradually get into this state of consciousness equal to honor and insult. Tatha mana apamana yoga, double by saying something.
Praise and blame is so subtle, it takes even for a yogi it is very difficult.
Exactly.
It's
He's saying this praise and blame, it is so subtle, even yogis, for them it is so difficult to be equal in that.
OMG movie.
Samah Shatrau, he's saying OMG movie. Part 1 or part 2?
Part 1, Paresh.
Part 1. He's citing that as an example for this. Samah Shatrau cha mitre cha tatha mana apamana yoho, equal to friend and enemy, equal to honor and insult. Somewhere Mother writes in one of her writings, in humiliation lies the key of liberation or something like this. सर कुछ है उनका एक राइटिंग, उसमें वो लिखती हैं कि वो ह्यूमिलिएशन एक्चुअली वहां पे वो ह्यूमिलिटी से है अल्टीमेटली. यू हैव दैट डिवाइन ह्यूमिलिटी एंड दैट सेंस ऑफ इक्वालिटी एटसेट्रा, बट बेसिकली आई मीन इट विल इनेविटेबली हैपन. सम पीपल विल इंसल्ट यू आउट ऑफ जेलसी. हाँ, ऑब्वियसली जो फ्लैटर करने के लिए आपको प्रेज व्रेज करेंगे वो तो है ही, इट गोज विदाउट सेइंग, सो इट्स डिफिकल्ट. बट वही दैट सत्व गुणा एंड दैट लाइट, वो प्रकाश. व्हाट विल हेल्प अस टू डिस्टिंग्विश? प्रकाश, light. Oh, अच्छा, इसको तो मुझसे कुछ चाहिए. It's not coming from the self. It's coming from the ego. तथा मानापमान. It's not easy. आप महाभारत देखिए, अपमान हो गया तो पूरी लड़ाई हो गई, मान हो गया तो फूल गए और किंगडम दान में दे दिया. थ्रू आउट ह्यूमन हिस्ट्री चढ़ा दो किसी को और जो मर्जी करा लो उससे फिर. So,
Anmol, the more you listen to this very elated state of being one with the psychic entity, the more you realize it can only be experienced when you're always, you've changed the whole goal to saying you are experiencing it. My Lord, you are facing it. Till you do not put the complete onus that, my Lord, it is you, I don't think so. See, the moment you come back to me being a separate entity, you cannot achieve any of these things. This means that your practice has to be so perfect that every second you're saying, my Lord, you are experiencing it. My Lord, this is you. This people appreciating, my Lord, is you. People,
it is him, because who is this thing called me?
So
it is an eternal portion of him. Soham asmi, I am he.
Right.
द्वैत भक्ति का one of the biggest जो shortfalls है वो यही है. it उसको it fears to cross that threshold and to be able to say Soham asmi. That is why Advaita rules the roost of Shankara. बाकी किसी का भी रामानुज, मध्व, वल्लभ, निम्बार्क, Chaitanya, nobody has that kind of mental dominance or following as much as Shankara does, because he's saying the ultimate truth. Until you realize that ultimate truth, you will never get that ultimate happiness, ultimate satisfaction. Soham Asmi is the truth that each one of us has to realize. और वही इनवर्डली वो होना है, बट कीपिंग दैट इन माइंड दैट यस सो हम अस्मी, बट विदाउट हिज स्ट्रेंथ आई एम नथिंग, उसके बिना मैं कुछ नहीं. Therefore, to constantly refer to him, constantly to invoke him, constantly to try to connect with him, this is the way forward. Archana ji has posted 2 lines here, beautiful. This is from the sonnet called The One Self, the last 2 lines of it. My rival's downfall is my own disgrace. I look on my enemy and see Krishna's face. Beautiful. This is actually sort of matlab, autobiographical. Probably it's referring to the courtroom drama where Sri Aurobindo was there, and he's looking at the judge and the lawyer who are wanting his prosecution. And even while he's looking at them, Krishna within is telling Sri Aurobindo, look there at the prosecuting counsel, look at the judge. Whom do you see? And he sees Krishna even in the judge and this thing, like that. So I think it refers to that, maybe not, but most likely does. Thank you, Archana ji. Yeah.
So, Anmol, just one point here.
Yes.
So, if you look at the goal of Arjuna, he tells him that you have to decimate the Kaurava army and all of them, right? And yet, he has to see Krishna in all of them. That means, in spite of seeing the Lord in everything, your goal, you're not supposed to lose the focus of your goal. His goal is still to decimate them.
Yeah.
His goal is to see that even though Krishna is in Karan, I have to kill him. Even
Yeah.
if
So
Krishna,
is
it's that
in
one
Karan,
universe in
but what
Duryodhana, I have to kill him.
and he's not decimating Krishna. Understand this, because Krishna is indecimatable. There is no such word. I'm saying it right now. वो है ही नहीं. विनश्यत्स्व विनश्यन्तं यः पश्यति स पश्यति. He who sees the imperishable in all these perishable persons, वो देखता है, बाकी सब अंधे हैं. समम सर्वेषु भूतेषु तिष्ठन्तं परमेश्वरम विनश्यत्स्व विनश्यन्तं यः पश्यति स पश्यति. ठीक है. What he is decimating is the outer personality, that formation. Krishna is indestructible. That Atman is indestructible. अविनाशितु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वम इदम ततम विनाशम अव्ययस्यास्य, कुछ ऐसे करके श्लोक आता है सेकंड चैप्टर में, राइट? ये बहुत अंडरस्टैंड, ये इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस. एंड ऑफ कोर्स द भाव दैट ही वुड बी हैविंग इज नॉट दैट ही इज किलिंग कृष्णा. ही विल नॉट बी एबल टू डू इट इफ ही इज थिंकिंग लाइक दैट. उसको जो दिया गया टीचिंग, अरे भाई तू मार, क्योंकि बिकॉज मारने से भी जो मरेगा वो तो केवल शरीर मरेगा, और उल्टा यू आर एक्चुअली, वो गीता में इस तरह नहीं आता. द गीता डजंट से इट एक्सप्लिसिटली, राइट? एवरीथिंग कैन नॉट बी मेड एक्सप्लिसिट इन 700 कंसाइज वर्सेस. दैट इज वाई द गीता इज अ मिरेकल. 700 वर्सेस के अंदर इतना पैक कर दिया, इट्स अनइमेजिनेबल. Somebody like Sri Aurobindo, who had such a high realization when he wrote these things, उन्होंने बंगाली राइटिंग्स में लिखा है कि भैया गीता ऐसी चीज है, आप जन्म पे जन्म लगा लो इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड. आई मीन इट्स अ वेरी वेरी अमेजिंग. मैं भेज दूंगा वो ग्रुप के ऊपर. सो बेसिकली कि the soul is indestructible, the self is indestructible, and it's your dharma to मतलब kill these people. And basically ये मैं ऐड कर रहा हूं उसमें कि you are liberating them from the dark state in which they have gotten themselves right now. आप उनको मुक्त कर रहे हो एक्चुअली. सो व्हेन काली स्लेस, काली डजंट स्ले, वो उद्धार करती है. उद्धार का मतलब ही है, उत मतलब ऊपर, धार मतलब रख देना, ध्री धातु से आता है. तो वो आपको उठा करके एक हायर पोजीशन में रख रही है, एक हायर स्टेटस में प्लेस कर रही है. So by killing them, he is actually doing their uddhar. He is liberating them from the dark state into which they have gotten trapped right now. It's very important to understand this. ये nuance है एक तरह से उसका.
Correct. Thanks, Anmol, for elaborating that, because see, the moment you say that, look, he sees the same oneness even in each of these situations, when you're being appreciated or when you're being criticized. You're seeing a friend or you're seeing a foe. But with the foe, the fact that you see Arjun, he still kills Karan and Duryodhan. He doesn't let them go, right? So to get this nuance that you may see the Lord oneness, but you still have to do your duty and take the action, because in the human form, they've added so much of negativity
The
that they
damage
have
that
to be
they have done
eradicated.
to the world already. Krishna is asking, मतलब he is ruthless. When you see Krishna on the battlefield, even the image that is there, वो तो जो फिल्म वगैरह में दिखाते हैं, that's another thing. But वो blood के drops उनके चेहरे पे हैं, and imagine that Krishna. वो लोली पोली टाइप का वृंदावन वाला, केवल गोकुल वाला, वो लड्डू गोपाल वगैरह एंड रासलीला वगैरह, that is not sufficient. You need to see the entire Krishna. आनंद के साथ साथ शक्ति का स्वरूप देखना भी इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट है। कालोस्मि लोक क्षय कृत प्रवृद्धो लोकान समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः ऋते पित्वाम भविष्यन्ति सर्वे येव स्थिताः प्रत्यनीकेषु योधाः। So that ruthlessness, because he has a political objective. His political objective is to establish Yudhishthir as a Samrat of India. ये महात्मा गांधी इज नॉट द फादर ऑफ इंडिया ओरिजिनली दैट वे, अगर आप देखें कृष्णा इज द फादर, वैसे तो कोई फादर नहीं है बिकॉज सिविलाइजेशन इज अनादि, बट श्री कृष्णा इज द वन जो मतलब हिस्ट्री में हम जानते हैं जो वहां प्लेस कर रहे हैं। उसके पहले व्हाट डज रामा डू? किल ऑल द असुरास इन दंडकारण्य, गोज ऑल द वे टू लंका, फिनिशेस देम ऑफ, बोलते हैं अयोध्या का एक छत्र राजा, ही बिकम्स अ सम्राट। So always when the avatar comes, he comes with a political objective. Same with Sri Aurobindo. He comes, British Empire. You know, the sun didn't set in the British Empire. Look at the British Empire when Sri Aurobindo has left his body in 1950. I'm not saying anything against the British, but the political objective, the outer objective is also there in the avatar. The main is the inner work. So Sri Rama came to establish the sattvic mind. Sri Krishna came to establish the overmind. Sri Aurobindo came to establish the supermind. But the outer objective is also there, and for the purposes of the world, immediate purposes of the world, equally, if not more important. Clear?
Very clear. Thanks.
Yeah, welcome. Anybody else? मतलब केवल हम ही दोनों के बीच में बात हो रही है?
So,
हाँ.
question.
Yeah.
That means outer objective and inner is also interlinked. There must be some linking.
Of course, inner and outer are linked.
It cannot happen because otherwise
Yeah.
outer का कोई purpose ही नहीं बनता.
Yeah, correct. Correct. Yeah, समौ शत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः. That this we've covered. शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु समः संग विवर्जितः. Equal to friend and enemy, equal to honor and insult, pleasure and pain, sukha dukkheshu, equal in pleasure and pain, praise and blame, ये अगले श्लोक में है, निंदा स्तुति, praise and blame, grief and happiness, grief and happiness, वो भी मे बी अगले वाले में होगा, I'll have to see the verse. Grief and happiness, heat and cold, shitoshna, to all that troubles with opposite affections, the normal nature, not attached to person or thing. Sanga vivarjita. This is one of the most important words of the Gita. Asanga, asangatvam, non-attachment. And मैंने explain किया था पहले कि why, what is the logical reason why attachment should not be there? Because anything to which you are attached, it will make you limited. And truth by definition is unlimited. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Again from the Taittiriya Upanishad. Right? Just one second. We'll dwell on this point of attachment and ye wala. I'm just seeing the next verse and then we'll do that together. 8:55. Let's see, we can finish the chapter today or not. Silent, content, tulya ninda stute, equal in praise and blame. Mauni, silent. Yes. This is a quality in bhaktas. वो depth होती है, गहराई, and because of that, that silence is there. It's not a tamasic silence. It's full of that, divine emotion, and when that has to be put into activity, it will come in activity. But that deep inner silence, they are touching, or in the highest cases, they are totally dwelling in that perfect inner silence. Like that. So tulya ninda stutir mauni. I mean, I have seen this in those whom I regard as devotees, look upon as devotees. Santushto yena kenachit. Content and well satisfied with anything and everything. Because they are tasting that fullness within themselves. Remember, Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. So you know that I am that same Purnam. And if you are that Purnam, then you don't need anything else to be satisfied. आप just Atmarati हैं. Again, not easy. Atmani eva Atmana तुष्टः. Gita says, मतलब second chapter में, स्थित प्रज्ञ के उसमें. प्रजहाति यदा कामान सर्वान पार्थ मनोगतान आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थित प्रज्ञस्तदुच्यते. Like that. Right? But this is the reason why you can be santushta. Question उठेगा ना कि कैसे, how can you be satisfied with everything? When you are touching that your true nature, your true self, that which is delight without any reason, self-existent delight. सच्चिदानंद का मतलब ही यही है. Right? Not attached to place or home. Yeah. वो हम फिर से वो attach. This इसके लिए वर्ड है अनिकेतः. Right? स्थिरमति ही. स्थिरमति का क्या दिया? Firm in mind. Because it is constantly seated in the highest self, and fixed forever, beautiful, on the one divine object of his love and adoration. आपकी मति उसमें फिक्स हो गई है, स्थिर मति. This needs to be read again and again. पता है एक सेशन में just like this, ये ऐसे justice cannot be done to this, right? That man is dear to me. भक्तिमान में प्रियो न रहा. Yes.
Anmol, if you see the interpretation of that in India, most
Yes.
of these Naga Babas and every place where spirituality is seen, you see that they are not in action and not in engagement with the world. So they may station themselves in this oneness, but
Sometimes,
then
हाँ correct, वही मतलब see all these paths ना मतलब that way if you see वो उनमें कोई ना कोई limitation होता है. नागा बाबा का जो मतलब मैंने सुना है, so you know basically they are supposed to be sort of the warrior sannyasis, right? और जब कल्चर पे कोई अटैक हो या कुछ हो तो they are supposed to come with their त्रिशूल and all and fight actually. They are supposed to fight. ये उनका जो ट्रू है वो ये है. बट हाउ मच दे एंगेज वो कुंभ के टाइम ही आते हैं, अदरवाइज दे आर देयर इन देयर केव्स. सो आई मीन बट इवन बाय देयर प्रेजेंस, इवन बाय देयर asceticism, they are contributing to the world through that you know spiritual consciousness जो वो इतना एफर्ट के साथ डेवलप कर रहे हैं वो रेडिएट होती है. एंड यू नो दे जस्ट ट्रांसमिट देयर वेव्स लाइक दैट. So but yes, I mean I would not say that a Naga sadhu is an integral yogi, not the case.
right. What I'm saying is that to be in activity, see, if you put your attention and you're focused on
Just
the
1 second,
psychic
sorry.
activity,
एक example आ रहा है mind में, I'm sharing it and then
right, right.
so Sri Aurobindo, he owes his first getting the faith in yoga to a Naga sadhu. I'll tell you how. Very interesting. So Sri Aurobindo, as we know, he had studied in England, Cambridge में थे 14 years. So he says the atheist was in me, the agnostic was in me. I did not even have a living faith in God, right? Then what happened? So his brother, younger brother Barin, he was ill. He was roaming in the Vindhyas and he got what is called mountain fever बोलते थे उसको. तो वो खटिया पे पड़ा था and he was not able to recover. He was just lying on the cot outside. And क्या करें? You know, उस जमाने में I am talking about 1904 or 1905 like that. Medicine and all was also not so advanced, right? So a Naga Baba was passing through there, a Naga sannyasi. He saw और उसको दया आ गई and he said just bring a glass of water. They brought a knife. He made a cut like this, you know, क्रॉस बनाया उसने, एक मंत्र दिया और वो पीने को दिया और वो बारिन उठ के खड़ा हो गया. श्री अरबिंदो वहां बैठे सारा तमाशा देख रहे. ओ माय गॉड, देयर इज अ पावर इन दिस. उनको वो इंस्टेंट मिरेकल जब दिखा, ही गॉट द फेथ एंड दैट इज व्हेन ही स्टार्टेड लर्निंग प्राणायाम फ्रॉम हिज फ्रेंड, व्हाट वाज हिज नेम, देश पांडे, right? So you know, I mean the person whom we are following, वो just एक मतलब you know sort of as a tribute to Naga Babas also, उनका रोल रहता है but it's inner, वो integral नहीं है वैसे करके. But it's not meant to be like that. See, all who of us is integral? हम बताइए हम में से कौन है जो पूर्ण है या जो इंटेग्रल है? कहीं ना कहीं हमारे अंदर कोई पार्शियलिटी है, किसी का ज्ञान योग की तरफ, किसी का भक्ति योग, किसी का कर्म योग. We are all on the way to becoming integral. So are they. Neither we should condemn them nor they should condemn us कि ये तो दुनियावी है. भैया दुनियावी आदमी नहीं होगा तो रोटी कौन कमाएगा, खेती कौन करेगा? It is the गृहस्था, it is that person who is the backbone of the society, right? So there should be no conflict like that. I'm just saying, you know. आप कुछ कह रहे थे योगेश जी? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. योगेश भाई,
Yeah, Anmol.
you were saying something.
Yeah. I was saying that to be in that state of oneness and equanimity, which is how over the last couple of verses, that in with friend and foe, in
Yeah.
praise and in
Samak
criticism,
Satya. Yeah.
in all these dualities, to be one and yet be engaging with the work. Because otherwise, if you see, for a lot of people in India, when they try to aspire for this meditative state, then they disengage with the worldly engagement. And that is not integral then, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
See, today, if I say, मैं 10 दिन का, I'll go into a retreat and then
That
I'll
much
just
you're allowed.
continue staying there, and that is what I'll do. I'll only focus myself.
Yeah.
Then how am I engaging with the Lord, then
Fine,
giving
but
you guidance
I
of what
understand.
needs to be done?
I understand. But let's say if those 10 days they make you yogastha, ठीक है? Then what? Then you come with 10 times that force and you are able to do much more of what the divine will wants to be done through you. So even Sri Aurobindo took a retreat. In the heat of politics, Bengal का सबसे बड़ा leader, and he disappeared for 3-4 days with Lele. 7 days actually. उसमें 3 दिन he was sitting totally in meditation. Actually पहले दिन में realization हो गया था. But he took a break because at times this kind of strategic retreat is necessary. So basically each thing in its own place. Nothing should be exaggerated too much. गीता यही सिखाती है, सब कुछ बैलेंस में होना चाहिए. युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तः स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः। जिसका आहार युक्त है, बैलेंस्ड है, विहार एक्सरसाइज प्ले क्रीड़ा वगैरह बैलेंस में है, युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु, जिसका चेष्टा कर्म वगैरह बैलेंस में है। ये नहीं कि बस कर्म 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 ऑल द टाइम, नहीं, दैट इज रजोगुण। युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य, जिसका स्लीपिंग और वेकिंग जो मतलब ठीक ठाक क्वांटिटीज होता है, डज नॉट, गीता डज नॉट से दैट यू शुड नॉट स्लीप एट ऑल। कृष्णा अपने बारे में बोलते हैं अतंद्रितः, बट ही इज परब्रह्मन। व्हाट इज स्पीकिंग इन द गीता, देयर इज नथिंग हायर देन दैट। वो इन्फिनिट एनर्जी है। इन्फिनिट एनर्जी को सोने की क्या, रेस्ट करने की क्या जरूरत है? Just think about it, even matlab intuitively, rationally. Does infinity need to rest? No, because it is infinity. But we have to reach that state. You try to pretend it, वो नहीं चलेगा फिर। युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. Last is very important. When you are like this in a balance, then what does yoga do to you? दुःखः. वो आपके दुख का हरण कर लेगा. One of the most powerful verses in the Gita. योगो भवति दुःखः. Then yoga becomes the forceful remover of all your dukkha. The h jo consonant hai, Sri Aurobindo translates as force. I'm taking it from there, right?
Anmol, which verse was this? The one with Dukkha Harna wala?
ये मेरे
Can
को
if you
ढूंढना
could,
पड़ेगा, 5th या 6th में है कहीं पे।
if you
Yeah.
could just put it in the references for today,
हाँ,
please.
definitely.
Thanks.
ये मिल गया भैया। It is 6th chapter का verse number 17. Yeah. So अभी भी अपना हो तो नहीं पाएगा, it's already 9:03. So what should we do? Leave it to the next time? Next time में पक्का हो जाएगा, but see what to do, मतलब अपना, it's not that I'm giving excessive references and all, ये deliberate है, पता है, मतलब some people they don't even do one verse in 1 hour, मतलब all kinds, वो depend करता है कौन कैसे क्या mood है। I don't want to rush in this. हाँ बोलिए। Aniketa is saying,
Niketan is
हाँ घर,
place
हाँ,
of
so what he does not saying that you're without a house, he says,
the whole world is his home in that sense.
okay, so he's saying Aniketa means that the whole world is his home, correct?
Because he can, today he may be having a shelter, but
Yes.
about that he
Yes.
may be forced to stay
Yes.
on.
So what we can do is, being 9:04, we had started at 8:04. If I'm allowed like 5 minutes more, I can probably try to give some kind of justification, मतलब ending वगैरह जो है इस session का. Should I? Because अभी आधा अधूरा सा हो रहा है. 18 and 19 are not really done that way. 5 minutes more, may I? Yeah. Okay. So,
Sure, please.
So 1 second, I'll go back to the verse 18. Equal to friend and enemy, equal to honor and insult, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, grief and happiness, heat and cold, to all that troubles with opposite affections the normal nature, not attached to person or thing, that man is dear to me. जिस मैंने कहा था, संग, हिंदी वाला संग का मतलब कंपनी होता है, संस्कृत वर्ड संग मीन्स अटैचमेंट, ठीक है? बार बार गीता में आता है, बी unattached. One very simple thing I'll tell you. Just start taking the name of Hari, Krishna, Sri Aurobindo, Mother, Shiva, whoever you revere. Merely the chanting of the name will start giving you the detachment. That is how powerful the divine name is. ठीक है? So, अच्छा, why, ये मैं उस पे पॉइंट पे थोड़ा dwell कर रहा था, क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए attachment? What is the logical reason for it? Because think about it logically. Anything that you're attached to, it will make you limited to just that. It can be very big attachment to something, nation or existence, form, formless, blah blah, जो कुछ भी है. But the fact that you're attached to any particular entity, idea, concept, person, anything, ठीक है, it will make you limited. Very simple, ठीक है, limited. Sant with limit, sa plus anta, sant. Whereas truth, by definition, is unlimited. Everybody knows this. Try telling anybody कि तुम ये नहीं कर सकते. अब तो मैं करके दिखाऊंगा. How dare you limit what I can do or not do? Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. Aham brahmasmi. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. Truth, knowledge, infinity. That is the definition of Brahman. और यहां पे मैं infinity वाले पॉइंट पे स्ट्रेस कर रहा हूं. Very, very, very important point from the conceptual point of view as far as Adhyatma Vidya is concerned. जब तक हमारा ये सेंस ऑफ इन्फिनिटी ग्रो नहीं करेगा. आई मस्ट मतलब एक्नॉलेज श्रद्धालु रानडे, इन हुज लेक्चर्स मैंने सुन सुन के बहुत इंप्रेस हुआ मेरे माइंड में. सो आई कैनॉट बट एक्नॉलेज हिम व्हेन आई से दिस. This idea of growing into becoming more and more natural in this idea, concept, consciousness of infinity. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma. That is why no attachment. Is this matlab clear? Matlab, does it make sense what I'm saying in the group?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yes. Yeah. Very simple. But मेरे को जब hit किया था, I was like, wow. मतलब I really understood something very fundamental. ये 4-5 साल पहले की बात. Okay. Next. Yeah. Not attached to person or thing. That man is dear to me. 9-7. Okay. Next. तुल्य निंदा स्तुतिर्मौनी संतुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतः स्थिरमतिर् भक्तिमान में प्रियो नरः. Silent, मौन. Again, just mere practice of silence is bhakti. Imagine. It's not stupidity or dullness or this or that. When it is conscious silence, that itself is bhakti. तुल्य निंदा स्तुतिर्मौनी संतुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतः स्थिरमतिः भक्तिमान में प्रियो नरः. Silent, content and well satisfied with anything and everything. Why? Because you are feeling that fullness within you. Purnamada Purnamidam. ये सारा ना माइंड में, दिस इज हाउ वी बिल्ड द कनेक्शंस बिटवीन आवर मेंटल कॉन्शियसनेस एंड दैट स्पिरिचुअल कॉन्शियसनेस. ये एफर्ट करना पड़ता है. दैट ज्ञान योगा का प्रैक्टिस जब शुरू होगा तो ये सब इनएविटेबली होगा. बेसिकली व्हाट वी आर डूइंग इन दिस सेशंस इज अ काइंड ऑफ ज्ञान यज्ञ, राइट? Content and well satisfied with anything and everything, not attached to place or home. Yeah. Firm in mind, sthiramatihi, not attached to place or home. Yeah. So when we expand the idea further, not attached to country, not attached to earth, pura wo blah blah pura, and that basically you just zoom out into that infinity. That's a physical way of going about it. जिसको जो सूट करता है, साइकोलॉजिकल, इमोशनल, जो भी जिसको सूट करे, right? Because it is firm in mind, sthiramatihi, because it is constantly seated in the highest self, Paramatman, and fixed forever, oof, on the one divine object of his love and adoration. Fixed forever. ये अपने बलबूते से नहीं हो सकता. दिस कैनॉट बी डन. इवन एज आई सेड, वो जैन्स एंड बुद्धिस्ट्स ऐसा थोड़ी ना है कि उनके भगवान नहीं है. द सेम कृष्णा इज ड्वेलिंग इन द हार्ट ऑफ द बुद्धिस्ट, द सेम कृष्णा इज ड्वेलिंग इन द हार्ट ऑफ द जैन. एंड बट उसमें वो सेल्फ एफर्ट करके 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 दे रीच अ पॉइंट वेयर दे कैनॉट गो फर्दर ऑन देयर ओन एफर्ट. देन द ग्रेस इंटरवीन्स and they get a breakthrough. That's what happens. So the grace is always there. You know it or not, but when you are smart enough or conscious enough to invoke it consciously, which what the bhakta does, then the sorrow is much lesser. उसी को वो sunlit path बोलते हैं, the path of perfect trust and surrender to the divine. Sri Aurobindo calls that the sunlit path. Then you don't have to go through all those darknesses, ordeals. वो surrender, that is important. Trust, वो है. और अगेन वो है, उसका अनुभव जब तक नहीं होगा तब तक वो विश्वास ही नहीं आएगा. भगवान है कि नहीं, मैं क्यों मानूं भगवान है? Why should I believe that God is there? Correct? You should not. But strive for it कि आपको उसका दर्शन हो, उसकी कोई अनुभूति हो, कुछ अनुभव हो. One should not become just a blind believer. That's why, strive. यतंती जो गीता बार बार बोलती है. Okay. Yeah, that man is dear to me. 9-10. Should we try to finish it today? This last verse बचा है इसका? नहीं. ये तो धर्म्यामृतमिदम. नहीं करते हैं. Definitely next time we can finish this and we can resume the essays. Is that okay? If anybody has any question, doubt, or comment or anything that we can take freely. Some people have already left. Okay. Yeah. Should we stop with silence for today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just be silent for a minute or so.